Sami Zayn isn't family, but you're getting involved with family. That's what makes this dynamic so interesting to me.
Yes. Listen, man, when this bloodline thing took off, Sammy was such a key part of this. I was feeling very oozy last night. The fans want to see it. This is a whole new dynamic. It's a whole new, level for this bloodline story. And here's the best part of it. They made it make sense. I said it last night on Busted Open After Dark. I feel you got to put Sami Zayn up there as one of the greatest baby faces of all time for the fact of when you listen to him talk, he has a unique ability to engage you in. When I talk about baby faces that you need to watch if you want to be a baby face in this industry, I put him in that list. He has this ability to speak to the audience like WWE Hall of Famer Mick Foley did. Mick Foley, some of his greatest work was in, and this is from what he said, like in ECW when he's talking and doing all these promos about his life. Sammy has that same characteristic that Mick did. And I mean, if you think about Mick, this beloved babyface, when he won the title and the war, changed, but it was a lot of Mick's promos and that like he'd have that ability to talk you in. That's an amazing ability that I don't think Mick Foley gets enough credit for, but also Sami Zayn talks me in. I talked about last night that when he went out there and spoke to the people, Arabic, I was like, this guy's next level. Why? Because, and Bully's seen this. When you go to other countries, a lot of top baby faces will learn give me some word that I can say that's going to make the crowd pop for me. No, he speaks their language, and he speaks it fluently. And he goes there. Dave, you and I love 80s wrestling, something that has been missed for the longest time. Tito Santana, interview, blah, 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 blah. Well, thank you. Do you mind if I speak to my people? And then he would speak Spanish. Manny Fernandez, I just saw it. In NWA, and he go, and let me talk to my Mexican people, blah, 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 blah. Eddie Guerrero, same thing, would intertwine the languages. It makes you like you are this babyface that we love, but then you're also doing it for our people, for your people. And it's just, it takes you to the next level. And everything a part of like what they did last night, they made me remember so many different parts of why this bloodline story is great. And, oh, really? You said this? And Dave, and I especially know this with you, you've been involved in some arguments. Me and Bully have been involved in some arguments. And I'm not talking amongst each other, but I'm talking about with family members and all that stuff. And you always have that other person specifically, I could remember sitting at a table and two family members are fighting, and then the person who married into the family steps up and says something. It's just like, excuse me, this is the family business. Oh, I'm not in the family. I married your brother, blah, 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 blah. But these are real things that happen. And when I tell you, like, I loved all the things of how they remind us. And then it's like, and can you show up so we could address Roman? The other part of this is he never gave the answer. Did you mean to do that? Which is so key to all of this. And if you do, think about this. When Bully and I were talking about somebody went over, somebody got over, solo pin Roman, straight up. That's an accomplishment. Yep. And now it's like, oh, wait a minute. We need your help, or are you going to screw us? This is just another layer of this amazing storyline that has people involved. And also, there's another part of this where I'm sitting back and I'm waiting for the wise man, because he's another key cog in this entire storyline, because he was the guy orchestrating a lot of it. And yes, but he was the key person when Roman wasn't going to Raw or Roman wasn't going to SmackDown, and he would speak and he would take you on these emotional waves without anybody being there. No interruptions, no nothing. When you tell him to go out there, be a heel, he'll be a heel. Tell him to go out there, be a babyface. I'm talking Paul Heyman, he'll get you more invested in the story without anybody either. And we haven't heard from him. I just saw a blur of him, which is hard to see a blur of him, getting off the plane, and then his first social media interaction since he's been taken out was about Roman. But there's all new levels to this. It has me rehooked into all of this because, I mean, hey, we're talking Survivor Series. If we need a fourth guy, why would you were as close as you tell me all the time, Dave, you have a brother, but you also have your friend who's as close that I've met. I forgot his name, who's as close as your brother. So there it is.
So I want to follow up what Tom said about Sami Zayn and the comparison that he made to Sami. If Sami Zayn gained 100 pounds and put on a red and black flannel shirt, who would he be?
Bang, bang.
He'd be Mick Foley.
Correct. Sami Zayn and Mick Foley and guys like Kevin Owens don't look like your typical pro wrestlers. That makes them relatable. If Sami Zayn, a thinner, scraggly looking guy can do this, so can I. I want to be like him. A guy like Kevin Owens, who doesn't go to the gym. I don't go to the gym either. I can do this too. They speak to the fans passionately. They resonate with their words because visually people see themselves in the wrestler. Long gone are the days of Hawk and Animal and the Ultimate Warrior and the and Hulk Hogan and the big jacked up body guys. Now it's more about the relatability factor. Why are people so into a Darby Allin or an Orange Cassidy? It's the relatability factor from size, or I like to skateboard, or I don't give a shit like OC does. Lots of different ways to connect. Is Sami Zayn going to go down in history as one of the greatest baby faces ever? No, I don't believe we're going to remember him for that. I know that he will go down in my eyes as a great worker who was able to master the art of the struggle better than just about anybody else. Nobody struggles like Sami does. And when you see somebody struggle, what do you want to do for them?
You want to reach out and help.
You want to help them. And that's where the emotional investment comes with Sami through his in-ring work. When you connect all of the dots with Sami, that's why they're so into him. And oh, by the way, you throw in a little bit of comedy when he says, I don't feel like you're being very oozy. He got Roman to pop. He gets Jimmy and Jay to pop. The crowd sees this. All of the dots are connected. He checks all the boxes. He's an underdog. You want to root for him. Like, it's a no-brainer with Sami. And the fact that he didn't answer the question is what puts the hook in your mouth and keeps you coming back for more.
Which tends to make me believe that Roman believes, and you could read it all over Roman's face on Saturday, he thinks that kick was on purpose because, yes, we've seen Bully, to your point, and Tommy, your point as well, we've seen him be the ultimate babyface, but we've also seen Sami as a despicable heel at times. And I'm not saying that that's the way that this is going to go, but it's interesting to me that we really don't know the intentions behind what Sami Zayn did on Saturday, because there was that conversation he had with Solo. And again, it wasn't an argument. We didn't see hatred or disdain on either Solo's face or Sami's face when they were having that discussion. It seemed like two guys having a very calm discussion between two people.
And if Roman were to say, okay, Sami, I believe you didn't do it on purpose. Boom, the hatchet is buried in that small aspect of the story. You put a period on and we're done with. But now it's open-ended.
Yes.
Does Roman think he did it on purpose? Roman's always going to be looking out of the side of his eye at Sami. which will always have us guessing too. It's so small, but it can mean so much. Like if we're on the air right here, right, Dave? And we were to be having a conversation, and I said something that exposed you, or vice versa. Listen, you're the expert at this. You might say something that could expose me and Tommy, the fact that we haven't been on radio as long as you. And then like I could always turn around and go, Dave, did you mean to put me in that position on live radio? I'm always going to be looking out of the side of my eye going, wow, I thought I could trust Dave, but meanwhile, he put me in that spot.
Bully, and all I would have to do is do that to you one time. Because if I do that to you once, you're always going to be thinking, all right, time would go by and you'd be like, all right, it was one incident. It's in the past. I forget. But if I say one thing that even reminds you of that, you're going to be like, wait, is he doing this to me again? Is this? And that's where the foundation of this story is. The bloodline was fractured. If you really go back, why was the bloodline as fractured as it was? It was because of Sami. Sami fractured the bloodline. He pitted brother versus brother. And he did it again last night on Raw. Now, whether it was intentional or not, it doesn't matter. Jimmy and Jay were at odds because of Sami Zayn last night.
You talked about Sami being a despicable heel when he needs to be. Could you imagine that we get to the end of this bloodline story and this family has been destroyed and you see Sami sitting back and go, my God, that was easier than I thought it would be. I destroyed that whole family. And took credit for it? Just like in the movie The Sixth Sense, when you go back to the beginning and you show everything that happened along the way, you go, oh my God, it was right there in front of us. He really did do this to the family. Do I think that's going to happen? Absolutely not. But I could make a case for how he could.
You can make a case for the WrestleMania Night 1, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn versus the Usos. Now it's flipped. There's a lot of places you can go with this. I'm talking if they're heels. For Sami right now, and again, like I said, Paul Heyman could be the shit stir. Could you imagine if Paul Heyman showed up with the new bloodline? What the hell's going on? Not going to happen. But could you imagine if that happens? Could you imagine if Sami aligns with the new bloodline and Sami is that voice? Not that Solo needs it, but did Roman need Paul? No, because Roman could talk. But these are all things that you can do and add to that. Or, hey, we just get a straight up match, 4-on-4, Survivor Series, all that stuff, lone survivors. There's so many different things and places you could go with this. It's Dave, beyond intriguing.
It's so funny that Tommy, for the past 2 minutes, is going, you could go here. You could go there. You could do this. He could say this. This guy could be a heel. He could be... What were we talking about right before the show? We were talking about the broad stroke questions about the bloodline that you ask sometimes, where it's like, well, what do you think of this? It's almost impossible to answer some of these bloodline questions because the characters are so deep, the characters are so developed, the story is so good. So when you say, hey, could you see them doing this? Yeah, absolutely. Because when you have great characters and you have a great story, you can go in any direction that you want, and it's really not going to be questioned. We're not going to sit back and go, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. That doesn't make sense. They're going to turn Sami Zayn heel, and Sami is the reason why all of this happened? Well, yeah, we just gave you a bunch of ways. You're going to tell me that this has been the Jey Uso story, not the Roman Reigns story? Well, yeah, go back to day one. It's just as much about Jey as it is Roman. The possibilities are endless with the bloodline.
You talk about great television shows that, you and I watch. Walking Dead, definitive, amazing show. It was a global phenomenon. They do one specific thing. Did it hurt the show's viewership? Yes. But think of how many different shows have spawned off from this that are also really, really good. The Sopranos, because Bully's talking about, in-depth characters and all that stuff. They took you on places where you never saw this stuff coming, And I think the only negative of The Sopranos ever was the ending. But then guess what? You watch this documentary about The Sopranos on HBO, and when they explain it, and it's years later, I'm like, it's brilliant.
The ending in the moment pissed people off because they never saw it coming, because they didn't have the answer for it. But like you said, years later, when you give it some thought, you're like, wow. And didn't David Chase said he left it open-ended for the viewer?
He left it open-ended for the viewer, as well as so it stays and you're talking about it forever. It was brilliant writing.
What do they say happens? I forget which mafia movie this is, like. It might have been in Goodfellas. What do they say happens when you get whacked?
You never see it coming.
You never see it coming. And if you get whacked and they put one in the back of your head, you know what happens to you? Everything goes black.
Dark.
You go to black. You go to black. What did they do in The Sopranos? You went to black. You got whacked. I love it.
Amazing. And again, it's an interpretation to the viewer. You may see it one way. Tommy may see it one way. I may see it another way. And like to Tommy, to your point, when did The Sopranos go off the air? 20 years ago or more? I don't even remember. And people are still talking about that freaking ending.
Guys, what was in Marcellus Wallace's briefcase?
We have no idea. We have no idea.
What is in the Raiders of the Lost Ark? What's the gold? What's in when they reveal it?
Wait, I'm a big Raiders fan, so wait.
The Ark, when they open up the Ark, what is it?
What's in the Ark?
Yeah.
The souls?
Well, it's also gold. Why it was all shiny, all that stuff. But
no,
it had everybody talking.
It was the power of God. The power of God. That's where the 10 Commandments were held. I'm big into this stuff, so like I'm now I'm really into this conversation. So,
but I also love the fact. But I also love the fact that the guy risked his life to find it, and they put it in a box with 10,000 other boxes in a warehouse someplace that they just store it in the back of the warehouse.
For you.
What was in Paul Heyman's bowling bag that he carried with us everywhere?
What would you rather know? The secrets of your government or the secrets of the Vatican?
I think it's better. I just don't know.
I can see you living a life like that. Look at you now.
Yeah, ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss.
Oh, my God, Dave. Oh, my God. I can't believe you just said that. So here is the biggest lessons that I learned from my mother and father. My mom taught me knowledge is power, and my dad taught me ignorance is bliss. Try living with those two lessons your whole life. Those constantly is the war that wages in my head. Knowledge is power, ignorance is bliss. Obviously, you're an ignorance guy.
Ignorance is bliss.
That's part of being Dave LaGreca, being dumb.
And also, the first time I ever got detention in school, at St. Catherine's in Glen Rock, my dad always used to tell me that life is a joke. Just laugh. Life's a joke. Like, you never know what's going to happen. And I'll never forget, Sister Mary in 3rd grade says to me talks about life and asks me, what's life? I said, life's a joke. And she's like, what? I said, life is a joke. Like, it's a joke. Next thing you know, I'm in detention. Thanks, Pops. Appreciate it.